We spend our whole lives chasing numbers, thinking freedom lies somewhere on the other side of a paycheck. But what if the thing we've been chasing isn't money? It's peace. Most of us work harder than ever, yet feel emptier than ever. The more we earn, the more we owe, not just in bills, but in time, in energy, in ourselves. In Your Money or Your Life by Vicki and Joe Dominguez. That illusion is stripped bare, revealing how money isn't just currency. It's a mirror of our choices, our fears, our freedom. This isn't another lecture about saving. It's a wake-up call about living a guide to seeing money as life, energy, and using it to build meaning instead of stress. So take a breath and let's step into the audiobook that teaches us how to stop earning just to survive and start living to be free. Chapter 1. The Old Roadmap for Money. It's strange, isn't it? How something that was meant to serve us money quietly became the master. You wake up early, rush to a job that barely stirs your pulse, and tell yourself this is what being responsible looks like. The bills, the mortgage, the gym membership you barely use, they all seem like proof of stability. But somewhere between paychecks, you start to feel it, that quiet voice asking, is this really it? We call it making a living. But if you look closely, most people are really making a dying one exhausted morning at a time. It starts so innocently. You get the degree, land the job, buy the car, maybe upgrade your phone because, well, you deserve it. Then you work harder to maintain it all. Promotions become validation. Weekends become recovery. And before you know it, your entire life starts orbiting around one thing: income. The old roadmap for money told us this was success. A steady job, a nice home, the right car, and a few luxury escapes to prove it was all worth it. But that roadmap was drawn in another time, when loyalty meant security, when a single income could feed a family, when pensions existed, and when retirement actually meant rest. That world doesn't exist anymore. Yet somehow, we keep driving the same broken route, wondering why it leads nowhere new. It's not that people are lazy or greedy. It's that the system taught us to confuse earning with living. It convinced us that our worth is measured by what we produce, that rest is for the weak, and that buying is how you say, I'm doing okay. But deep down, you know you're not buying joy, you're renting relief. Think about the average day. The alarm goes off, and you already owe the world your energy. You trade your time, your very life energy for money, then trade that money for things you hope will make the trade feel worth it. It's a loop that feels productive, but quietly drains the meaning out of your hours. And the saddest part? We wear it like a badge of honor. We brag about how busy we are, how late we stayed up working, how little sleep we got, as if exhaustion were proof of value. But if you're constantly running toward a finish line that keeps moving, what race are you really in? We think we're chasing freedom, but we're really chasing someone else's idea of it. A bigger paycheck, a bigger house, a better title. Yet every upgrade just resets the bar. That's the trap, the treadmill of more. You keep walking faster, but you're still in the same room. The truth is, this isn't about money at all. It's about meaning. Because no matter how much you earn, if you feel empty inside, the numbers won't save you. There's a kind of poverty that doesn't show up on bank statements, the poverty of time, of joy, of purpose. And maybe, just maybe, the first real step toward freedom isn't about earning more. It's about seeing the trap for what it is. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how deeply it runs in the way we talk, the way we spend, even the way we think. We call it security. But what if the greatest security isn't in the money you make? It's in the life you no longer have to sell to earn it. That's the question Vicki and Joe Dominguez ask us to face, not with fear, but with curiosity. What if your money story isn't broken? What if it just needs a new map, one that leads you back to yourself? Because when you finally realize that time is life, not just labor, that's when everything starts to change. Chapter 2. Money ain't what it used to be, and never was. Here's the strange thing about money. We talk about it like it's real, like it has a soul, as if those numbers in our account carry meaning, power, even morality. But strip away the emotion, and money is just paper, digital dust, a social story we all agreed to believe. And yet, that story runs deeper than religion. It decides who we marry, where we live, what dreams we dare to chase, and which ones we quietly bury. Money has become our modern myth. We chase it, fear it, worship it, and at the same time, resent it for the way it controls us. But here's the truth. The book forces us to face money was never meant to be a measure of who you are. It was only meant to measure what something costs. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that difference. For decades, we've been told money equals freedom, that more of it means more life. But look closer. How many people do you know who doubled their income and still feel trapped? Who buy bigger houses but fill them with the same arguments, the same restlessness, the same quiet anxiety about not having enough? That's because money, as Vicki and Joe Dominguez remind us, isn't just currency, it's a mirror. It reflects our fears, our habits, our identity. It's not what's in your wallet that matters, it's what that wallet represents. Every dollar is a piece of your life energy, traded away for something you thought mattered. But what if the value you're chasing is an illusion? Think about the phrase net worth. We use it like it defines a person's importance. He's worth 10 million. She's worth $500 million. Worth. As if humanity could be calculated. As if the hours you spend laughing with your kids or the peace of sitting under a sunset don't count because they can't be priced. That's the lie hidden in plain sight. We've attached emotion to something that has none. We've made money responsible for our happiness and then blamed it when it can't deliver. In truth, most people don't want money. They want what they think money will give them: control, respect, security, peace. But those things can't be bought. They have to be built slowly, quietly, through the way you live, not the number you earn. Robin and Dominguez show us how the emotional illusions around money keep us enslaved. We use spending to medicate discomfort. We chase luxury to escape insecurity. We call it retail therapy, as if healing comes with a receipt. We don't buy to fill our homes. We buy to fill a hole inside us that can't be filled that way. And here's the cruel part. The more we spend to feel better, the more we need to earn to sustain it. It's not consumption anymore. It's sedation. The world runs on it. Ads, influencers, even our social media feeds whisper the same lie. You'll feel enough when you have more. But what if more isn't the answer? What if it's the problem? When you start seeing money not as wealth, but as life, energy, everything shifts. Every purchase becomes a question. Was this worth part of my life? Every expense becomes a reflection. Did this bring me closer to who I want to be or further away? Money, at its core, is neutral. It's a tool, a symbol, an agreement. It doesn't make you greedy or generous. Your choices do. But when you let money carry the weight of your emotions, it starts dictating them. You begin to confuse your paycheck with your peace. And maybe that's the quiet revolution this book is leading us toward: a new understanding that money never changed. We did. We built an economy of appearances and forgot the economy of meaning. We started asking, how much is it? Instead of, how much is it worth to my soul? So maybe it's time to stop asking money for happiness. It was never designed for that job, because when you strip away the illusion, you find something powerful underneath the realization that money was never the goal. It was only ever meant to be the servant of something much greater: your life. Chapter 3. Where is it all going? Have you ever stopped and wondered, where does it all actually go? Not just the money, the time, the effort, the small pieces of yourself you trade, day after day, to keep life moving. It's easy to believe we're being responsible, paying bills, saving for later, treating ourselves when we've earned it. But if you were to trace every dollar, every swipe, every impulse, every "I'll just grab this real quick," you'd see something deeper. A map of your choices. A map of your life. That's where your money or your life gets uncomfortably honest. Vicki, and Joe Dominguez don't tell you to budget. They ask you to wake up, to look at what your money is doing when you're not paying attention. Because money never disappears. It tells a story. Every expense whispers something about who you are, what you value, what you believe you need. to feel okay. When you start tracking where your money goes, you start tracking the truth about yourself. And that's where most people flinch. We like to think we're in control. But our spending reveals something different: how much of our life energy quietly leaks into convenience, boredom, loneliness, or the need to prove something. We don't just buy things. We buy moments of escape. Dominguez called this process being in the present, tracking your life energy. It's about translating money back into its real form. Hours of your life. Every time you spend, you're not spending dollars, you're spending minutes you'll never get back. That new gadget? Maybe 10 hours of work. That dinner out? Maybe 2. That streaming subscription you barely use? A sliver of your weekend, gone. When you finally start keeping track, something wild happens. You realize how much of your paycheck slips away to things that don't actually make you happier. At first, it feels mechanical, noting down every cent, recording every transaction. But slowly, it turns into something more emotional. You start to see patterns you never saw before. How you buy when you're tired, how you splurge when you feel unseen, how you scroll through online stores, not because you want anything, but because you're looking for a feeling you can't name. This is the moment the book calls the wake-up call. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've finally opened your eyes. And here's the beautiful irony: the act of tracking, something that feels so dry and analytical, becomes one of the most deeply human things you can do. It brings you face to face with yourself. It strips away the justifications, the autopilot. It's no longer about guilt, it's about awareness. Robin and Dominguez knew something profound. You can't change what you don't measure. As long as money remains abstract, some comes in, some goes out, you'll always feel slightly lost, slightly anxious, slightly behind. But once you bring it into focus, once you assign real numbers to the flow, you start to feel a kind of peace. Because tracking isn't control, it's clarity. And clarity gives you power not over money, but over meaning. You start to see how much you trade for things that add nothing to your joy. How much of your hard-earned income fuels habits that don't reflect who you are. And when that realization hits, something in you shifts. You begin to ask new questions, not "can I afford this?" but "is this worth part of my life?" That single question changes everything. It's no longer about restriction, it's about alignment. Each transaction becomes a mirror. Does this reflect what I care about, or just what I've been conditioned to want? And that's when you realize tracking isn't about money at all. It's about attention, because whatever you track, you start to transform. So, where is it all going? The answer is simple: it's going where your awareness isn't. And when you finally bring that awareness home, that's when your money stops owning you and starts revealing you. It's not about judgment, it's about truth. Because once you know exactly where your life energy is going, you get to decide consciously, deliberately, lovingly, whether it's worth the price. Chapter 4. How much is enough? The quest for happiness. Enough. It's such a simple word, but for most people, it's also the most elusive. We live in a world where more is the anthem. More money, more comfort, more status, more everything. The chase feels endless, like happiness is always one purchase, one raise, one promotion away. But somehow, no matter how fast we run, enough keeps moving just out of reach. Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez asked a question so radical it still stings decades later. What if you already have enough? What if the problem isn't your income, but your definition of happiness? In their workshops, they ran a simple exercise. They'd ask people to write down their monthly income and then answer one question: how much would it take for you to feel truly happy? The answers were shockingly consistent. Whether someone made $1,500 or $6,000 a month, the answer was always the same. About 50% more. It didn't matter who they asked: rich, poor, young, old. Everyone thought happiness was just a little further up the road. But when they mapped the data, something clicked. Happiness doesn't rise with income after a certain point. You reach comfort, and then you flatline. This is the illusion of more. It doesn't matter how big your house is or how expensive your watch, the mind adapts quickly. What was once exciting becomes ordinary, and the hunger begins again. It's the treadmill of desire, always running, never arriving. Robin and Dominguez didn't just diagnose the problem, they offered a way out. They called it the 3 transformative questions. Each question feels simple, but together, they dismantled the entire myth of modern consumer happiness. The first question: did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value in proportion to the life energy I spent? It's brutal in its honesty, because suddenly that $100 dinner, that gadget, that subscription, they're not just expenses. They're hours of your life, your time, your energy. When you see your money as life energy, the cost stops being abstract. That dinner isn't just $100. It's maybe 6 hours of your life. Was it worth that? Sometimes yes. Often? Painfully? No. The second question: is this expenditure in alignment with my values and life purpose? This one cuts deeper. Because we love to say we value freedom, family, health, creativity, but our spending tells another story. Maybe we say we want peace, but we're financing chaos. Maybe we say we want time, but we're buying distractions. When you start measuring alignment, not affordability, you realize how many of your financial choices are unconscious, made for comfort, not connection. And then comes the third question, the liberator. How might this expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money? That question opens a door most people never dare to walk through. It forces you to imagine life without the invisible chain of the paycheck. Would you still buy that luxury car if you didn't need it to look successful? Would you still chase trends if your worth wasn't tied to your job title? Would you still live where you live if you weren't tethered to an office? The answers are revealing. Because beneath all our spending lies one emotion: fear. Fear of not being enough, of not belonging, of being left behind. But once you strip that away, once you realize your needs are actually simple, something amazing happens: peace. Enough is not a number. It's a relationship between what you have and what you want. And the closer those two move together, the freer you become. The book's research echoes modern psychology. Even Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman found that beyond a certain point, roughly $75,000 a year in the US, more money doesn't make people happier. It might ease stress, but it doesn't touch the deeper layers: joy, connection, meaning. Those are built from how you live, not how much you earn. Robin and Dominguez weren't against money. They were against blindness, the kind that makes us chase something we don't even stop to define. When you ask the 3 questions long enough, something inside you begins to shift. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Do I need this?" You stop asking, "What can I buy?" and start asking, "What can I love?" without owning. You start to see that happiness isn't at the end of accumulation. It's hidden in awareness. Maybe enough isn't a finish line. Maybe it's the moment you stop running. Because the real wealth isn't in what fills your home, it's in what no longer empties your heart. Chapter 5. Getting it out in the open, making life energy visible. There's a strange power in seeing the truth laid bare, not in theory, not in hopes, but in black and white, right in front of you. That's what this chapter is about. The point in your journey where numbers stop being just math and start becoming a mirror. Up until now, your money or your life has asked you to wake up, to question, to track, to redefine. But here, Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez push you to do something most people never dare to do, to make your entire financial life visible. Every dollar, every pattern, every habit that quietly shapes your days. It's not about guilt or shame. It's about honesty, radical, liberating honesty. Because until you see it, you can't change it. The book calls this the process of making life energy visible. It's where all the tracking, all the awareness turns into a living picture, a snapshot of how your life energy actually flows, not the fantasy version, the real one. You've been tracking your income and expenses line by line, dollar by dollar. Now, Robin and Dominguez ask you to bring it together into something simple but profound. A visual chart that shows how your spending aligns with your happiness. Every month, you take your expenses and map them category by category on a single page. Food, rent, travel, clothes, tech, entertainment. Then, beside each, you record something much deeper: how it made you feel. Was it fulfilling, neutral, draining? Did that spending reflect your values or someone else's expectations? Suddenly, your financial life stops being abstract. It becomes personal, emotional, human. You begin to see the story your money's been telling all along. That's the turning point. You realize some of your most expensive habits bring the least joy. You notice the quiet correlation between simplicity and satisfaction. And you see that some of the smallest, least impressive expenses, coffee with a friend, a walk in the park, a good book, gave you the deepest fulfillment. This is where the illusion of more begins to crumble. Because when you visualize your life energy, when you see how much of your time, health, and emotion is being poured into things that don't actually enrich you, you can't unsee it. The data becomes a mirror to your soul. And what that mirror shows isn't failure, it's possibility. You begin to realize that money has never been about math. It's about meaning. Every cent represents a moment of your life, hours you traded, energy you gave. And the question quietly echoes again: was it worth it? Joe Dominguez used to say that when people finally charted their expenses this way, something inside them would click. He'd watch their faces shift from confusion to clarity, from shame to power. Because for the first time, they weren't guessing anymore. They were seeing. The chart became a compass. It revealed what was real, what was noise, and what needed to change. Robin and Dominguez called this the wall chart, a simple visual that became one of the most transformative tools in their program. Month after month, you'd add a new dot or line, watching your financial life take shape like a heartbeat on paper. Income, expenses, investments, all converging into a single story: your journey toward financial independence. But more than a record, it was a reflection. The wall chart made invisible patterns visible. It showed when spending aligned with values and when it didn't. It tracked progress toward your crossover point, the moment your investments would eventually pay for your living expenses, freeing you from the need to work for money. But that's still ahead. For now, the point is simple. Stop hiding from your numbers. Let them speak. Because when you track without judgment, when you make your financial life visible, you begin to feel something unexpected. Not fear, but calm. The truth stops being scary once it's seen. The shadows lose their power. And that's when a quiet confidence starts to form, the kind that comes from knowing, not guessing. You're not at war with money anymore. You're finally in conversation with it. And maybe that's what freedom actually looks like. Not the absence of limits, but the presence of clarity. Because when your life energy becomes visible, your choices do too. And in that light, transformation begins not through control, but through awareness. Chapter 6. The American Dream on a Shoestring. For most of us, the American dream was never really a dream, it was a script. Go to school, get a job, buy a house, work hard, retire happy. It promised security, comfort, dignity. But somewhere between paychecks and pressure, it changed. The dream became a chase, and the chase became a trap. Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez looked at that promise with clear, unblinking eyes. They saw what few dared to admit, that for millions, the American dream had quietly turned into the American debt. The story that once symbolized freedom now kept people locked in jobs they hated, homes they couldn't afford, and lifestyles built on quiet exhaustion. But what if the real dream wasn't about having more, but needing less? That's the question this chapter burns into your mind. And the answer, as they show, isn't deprivation, it's liberation. The authors call this step valuing your life, energy, minimizing spending. It's not about being cheap, it's about being conscious. It's about recognizing that every purchase is a trade, your time, your freedom, your attention, exchanged for something that may or may not add meaning to your life. When you begin to see money as life, energy, everything changes. You start asking new questions before every purchase. Is this worth it? Do I really need it? Will it make my life richer or just noisier? It's a practice of awareness, not austerity. Because true frugality, as Robin and Dominguez remind us, isn't about cutting things out. It's about cutting things off, the things that drain your spirit. It's about keeping only what gives you life. This is where the book's philosophy collides with culture. The modern world tells us we can buy our way to happiness, that comfort equals success, that luxury equals worth. But look closer, and you'll see that most of what we spend on is not about need, it's about identity. We don't buy cars to get places. We buy them to feel powerful. We don't buy clothes for warmth. We buy them to feel seen. We don't buy gadgets for convenience. We buy them to feel relevant. And then we wonder why peace never comes. Robin and Dominguez invite us to turn that pattern upside down, to find joy not in accumulation, but in alignment, to rediscover the satisfaction that comes from sufficiency from living within your means, but more importantly, within your values. They remind us that simplicity isn't poverty, it's clarity. It's knowing what's truly essential and letting the rest fall away. Think of it this way. Each time you buy something, you're not just spending money, you're buying a version of yourself, a life shaped by what you choose to own. The less clutter, the less noise, the less maintenance you invite, the more space you create for what really matters. The book offers practical, almost meditative ways to do this. It suggests revisiting your expenses every category and asking those 3 transformative questions again, but this time with new courage. Because now, you've seen the flow of your money. You've tracked it, you've faced it, you've made it visible. Now, you get to redesign it. And here's where something magical happens. As you begin to spend less, not out of fear, but out of choice, your sense of abundance grows. You realize that peace was never about possessions. It was about permission, the permission to live life on your terms. People who followed this path reported something profound. Their spending dropped by 20, 30, sometimes 50%, and yet their happiness didn't drop with it. It rose. They felt lighter, freer. They stopped buying distractions and started building lives. Dominguez used to say, "Every dollar you don't spend is a dollar you don't have to earn." And that single truth flips the entire economic narrative. Because every unnecessary expense you eliminate doesn't make your life smaller, it makes your freedom larger. That's the essence of this chapter, reclaiming your dream from the culture that sold it to you. The American dream isn't about having everything. It's about needing only what aligns with who you truly are. When you start living on a shoestring, something beautiful emerges. Gratitude, creativity, time. You find yourself spending less, but feeling richer not because of what you own, but because of what no longer owns you. And somewhere between the quiet mornings and the slower days, you realize the truth Robin and Dominguez wanted you to see all along. The simpler the life, the more of it you actually get to live. Chapter 7. Valuing your life energy, work, and income. There's a quiet moment that happens to everyone who takes this journey seriously. You've tracked your spending. You've faced your numbers. You've seen how your money mirrors your time. And then the realization hits. If money is life energy, then how you earn it matters just as much as how you spend it. That's where this chapter begins with a question most people avoid asking. Is the way I earn money in alignment with my values? Or am I quietly trading away pieces of myself for security? Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez call this step valuing your life energy, maximizing income. But their definition of maximize isn't about hustling harder or climbing faster. It's about working smarter, with integrity, purpose, and balance, aligning how you earn with who you truly are. Because here's the truth. The culture glorifies work. We worship productivity, idolize busyness, and measure worth by output. Yet behind all that motion, most people feel quietly empty. They're busy surviving, not living. The paycheck keeps them afloat, but the current is pulling them under. Robin and Dominguez saw this decades ago, the epidemic of exhaustion disguised as ambition. They weren't against work, they were against unconscious work, the kind that drains your life force without giving you meaning in return. They asked a piercing question. If you didn't need the money, would you still do this job? That question isn't about quitting tomorrow. It's about clarity today. Because when you answer honestly, you uncover what's real, the gap between what you're paid to do and what you're meant to do. And once you see that gap, you can start to close it. The authors remind us that work and income aren't enemies of freedom. They're tools for it. The goal isn't to reject money or retreat from society. It's to make your work serve your life, not consume it. They describe this as the art of earning, consciously choosing work that pays you not only in dollars, but in dignity, learning, growth, or connection. Work that aligns with your natural skills, your temperament, your purpose. Because when your income reflects your integrity, you stop feeling like a wage slave and start feeling like a participant in your own destiny. Of course, this isn't romantic idealism. The book is pragmatic. It acknowledges that not everyone can walk out of their job tomorrow. Bills are real, obligations exist. But even within those realities, you have choices. You can reduce dependence on toxic workplaces by simplifying your life. You can pursue side income that aligns with your values. You can expand your skills strategically, not to impress, but to increase your options. Robin and Dominguez talk about this shift as moving from earning to live toward living to earn consciously. It's subtle, but powerful. When you detach your identity from your job, something remarkable happens. Your creativity returns. You stop being desperate for every dollar because you've reduced your needs. You stop tolerating energy-draining work because you've tasted alignment. And you begin to understand that freedom isn't quitting your job, it's quitting your dependence on it. This is where money becomes something deeper, a reflection of self-respect. The authors also challenge one of the biggest myths of modern finance, that the only way to increase income is to sacrifice more time. In reality, the healthiest form of income growth comes from value creation, not time extraction. You don't have to grind yourself to dust to earn more. You have to align your work with genuine usefulness, creativity, and service. Joe Dominguez, who retired from Wall Street at 31, embodied this. He didn't stop working. He stopped working for money. He gave his life to service, teaching thousands how to reclaim their time and peace. His wealth wasn't measured in numbers, it was measured in freedom. The book invites you to redefine what a raise really means. Maybe a raise isn't more money, but more meaning. Maybe it's a shorter commute, fewer stress headaches, or more evenings at home. Maybe it's a job that gives you time to breathe, think, and be human again. Because at the end of the day, income has only one true purpose: to sustain the life you want, not the life you were sold. If the first half of this journey was about managing your spending, this is about reclaiming your earning. It's about remembering that your work should reflect your values, not violate them. When you earn with awareness, something profound happens. Work stops being a transaction and becomes an expression. You stop asking, "How much am I getting paid?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming through this?" That's the real wealth, not what you make, but what your work makes of you. And maybe that's what Robin and Dominguez wanted us to remember all along. The point of money isn't to buy your life, it's to give it back to you. Chapter 8. Catching Fire, the Crossover Point. There's a moment in this journey that feels almost unreal. A line you cross quietly, without fanfare, but after which nothing in your life looks the same again. It's called the crossover point. Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez describe it as the instant your investments, the money you've saved, nurtured, and directed with intention, begin to generate enough income to cover your living expenses. From that point forward, you're no longer working for money. Your money is working for you. But this chapter isn't just about numbers. It's about the shift in identity that comes with them. To understand the crossover point, you need to see it in motion, not as a fantasy of early retirement, but as a transformation of relationship. The book walks you through it with an almost meditative precision. You've been tracking your income and expenses for months now, mapping them on your wall chart, watching two lines dance across the page. One line represents your monthly expenses, the other, your monthly investment income. At first, those lines are far apart, your expenses towering over your savings, your life energy flowing out faster than it returns. But slowly, as you spend less, save more, and invest wisely, those lines begin to move. Expenses start to dip. Investment income begins to rise. And then, one day, sometimes months, sometimes years, they meet. That meeting is the crossover point. Robin and Dominguez call it catching fire. Not in the flashy social media fire movement sense, but in the quiet, sacred sense, the fire of freedom, the light of awareness catching on your life. It's not just financial independence. It's psychological independence. The moment you realize you no longer have to work for money, everything shifts. You may still choose to work, many do, but now you do it from choice, not compulsion. The pressure dissolves. The constant background hum of fear, what if I lose my job? What if the bills pile up? What if I can't keep up? Finally, fades. And what takes its place is something even rarer than wealth peace. That's the essence of this step. Freedom is not a number in your account. It's the absence of panic in your mind. But the book makes something very clear. Reaching this point isn't about reckless investing or high-risk trading. It's not about predicting markets or chasing returns. It's about patience, simplicity, steady, disciplined saving and conscious spending. Dominguez and Robin were pioneers in redefining capital. To them, capital wasn't just financial assets, it was stored life energy. Every dollar you saved was a tiny worker that could earn for you while you slept. The more you accumulated ethically, intentionally, the more freedom those dollars bought back for you. They explained it like this: when your investments produce enough passive income to cover your basic living expenses, you achieve financial independence, FI. And FI isn't an ending. It's a beginning, the start of a life lived on purpose. Think of it as the quiet revolution of reclaiming time. You've spent years trading your hours for money, but at the crossover point, the trade reverses. Money begins returning those hours to you. Each day, you buy back a little more of your life. And with that, time comes choice. What do you do when you no longer have to earn a living? What parts of yourself have been waiting patiently for that freedom to appear? For some, it's creativity, painting, writing, building, exploring. For others, it's contribution, mentoring, volunteering, helping others walk the same path. For many, it's peace, the slow rediscovery of presence after decades of rushing. But reaching the crossover point doesn't mean you stop being intentional. In fact, it deepens your awareness. You begin to guard your time with the same care you once guarded your money. You start spending life energy only on what truly matters. Robin and Dominguez saw this not just as a financial milestone, but as a moral one. When people reach FI, they often naturally become less wasteful, more thoughtful, more connected. They consume less because they need less. They give more because they have more to give: time, attention, empathy. It's the paradox of enough. Once you stop needing more, you finally feel rich. And that's the fire the authors wanted to spread. Not greed, not escape, but awakening. The kind of fire that lights up the dark corners of your relationship with money and burns away the fear. The crossover point isn't a finish line. It's the first sunrise after a long night of striving. It's the moment you realize that your life is no longer something you have to survive. It's something you finally get to live. Because when your money starts working for you, your time becomes your own again. And that not the car, not the house, not the salary is the real definition of wealth. Chapter 9. Where to stash your cash for long-term financial freedom. Freedom is a beautiful word until you realize it has to live somewhere. That's what this chapter is about. You've simplified, you've tracked, you've reduced. You've reached that quiet intersection called the crossover point. Now your money that's stored life energy has a new job: to take care of you for the rest of your life. But the question is, where do you keep it? This step, as Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez explain, is not about getting rich quick or gaming the system. It's about designing a stable, sustainable way for your savings to serve you. In earlier editions of the book, Joe had laid out one straightforward method: a simple ladder of U.S. Treasury bonds, producing a safe, predictable income. It worked beautifully for a generation that valued simplicity over speculation. But as Robin notes in this revised edition, the world has changed. Interest rates have fallen. Markets have evolved. The digital age has created endless tools and just as many traps. So this chapter was rebuilt carefully for a new time. The goal hasn't changed, though. Think for yourself. The authors never wanted to turn readers into traders. They wanted to teach a mindset, the discipline of seeing investments as tools, not temptations. Whether you choose stocks, bonds, index funds, real estate, or a mix of all three, the point is the same. Your money should quietly, steadily, and ethically generate enough to support your enough. Because investing, as they describe it, is not about chasing returns. It's about designing peace. So, how do you begin? Robin walks you through a mindset shift before a strategy shift. Most people invest emotionally driven by fear, greed, or FOMO. The market dips and panic hits. It rises, and we feel invincible. But your goal isn't to win the market. It's to exit the race entirely. Start by knowing your true expenses, the enough you discovered earlier. Once you know what your life actually costs, you know what kind of passive income you need. That number, not someone else's benchmark, becomes your North Star. Next, you design your investment system around two principles: simplicity and sustainability. Joe Dominguez called it enough yield with minimal maintenance. That's why the book now introduces several modern strategies: FIRE, financial independence; retire, really communities. Used today, all built on the same foundation of conscious living. Index funds, low-cost ETFs, dividend-producing stocks, real estate investments that generate consistent cash flow. But behind every method lies the same mindset: conscious investing. No gambling, no obsession, no midnight chart watching. Just calm, consistent participation in the economy you're already part of, but now as an owner instead of a worker. Robin reminds readers that it's crucial to diversify not just to protect wealth, but to protect your peace. A diverse portfolio isn't just a financial buffer, it's an emotional one. It keeps your mood and your money stable when the world trembles. And then there's the most underrated asset of all: liquidity. The book stresses having at least 6 months of living expenses in easily accessible form: cash, high-interest savings, or money market funds. This is your life's shock absorber, the barrier between you and panic. But the book doesn't stop at finance. It ties investing back to meaning, because every dollar you invest is a vote for the world you want. The authors urge you to put your capital where your conscience is: socially responsible funds, community investments, cooperative businesses, renewable projects. When your money grows through values you believe in, wealth stops feeling hollow. Joe and Vicki's philosophy can be summed up like this: invest with intelligence, integrity, and independence. And perhaps most profoundly, the book insists that you should never forget what money really represents: not power, but energy. When you invest consciously, you're not hoarding. You're harvesting, allowing the life energy you've already earned to multiply while you live in alignment. This step isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. You'll never time the market. You'll never outsmart uncertainty. But you can design a system so grounded, so simple, that you no longer worry about either. That's the heart of the program to build wealth that serves life, not the other way around. When you finally find that balance, the quiet hum of steady growth, the comfort of enough, the absence of financial anxiety, you realize something profound. You didn't just invest your money wisely, you invested your attention wisely. And that, more than any stock or bond, is what keeps you free. Chapter 10. Financial Independence, the Final Step. It starts quietly. No fireworks, no applause. Just a morning that feels lighter. The alarm clock rings, but this time, it's optional. You open your eyes not to obligation, but to choice. That's financial independence, the destination your money or your life has been guiding you toward all along. But here's the truth: Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez never stop reminding us of. Financial independence isn't just about money. It's about liberation, freedom from fear, from confusion, from the unconscious habits that turned your life energy into a paycheck treadmill. And in this final chapter, the authors make something profoundly clear: you don't reach financial independence when you hit a number. You reach it when money stops being your master. After months, maybe years of tracking, charting, simplifying, and realigning, you finally stand on new ground. You've built capital, reduced expenses, learned to invest consciously. Your income from investments, those quiet workers you've trained, now meets or exceeds your living costs. That's your crossover point in action. But what now? What do you do when you no longer have to work for money? This is where most financial books stop. But this one goes deeper. Because freedom without direction can feel strangely empty. The authors call this stage The New Roadmap for Money. It's about designing a life of purpose, not just ease. Because once you no longer need to earn to survive, the question changes from, how do I make a living? To, what do I want my living to mean? And that's where real wealth begins. For some, it means creativity, painting, writing, teaching, traveling. For others, it means contribution, mentoring, volunteering, helping others wake up to their own financial truth. For many, it simply means peace finally slowing down enough to taste the life they've been too busy earning. Dominguez often said, "You can only experience true abundance when you have enough time to give yourself away." That's the paradox of freedom. The less you chase, the more you can give. But financial independence doesn't mean you stop being mindful. Quite the opposite. Once you're free, your awareness must stay sharper than ever. Because the same cultural hypnosis that pushed you to overwork can pull you back into overconsumption if you're not paying attention. That's why Robin talks about maintenance of consciousness. It's not a financial task, it's a spiritual one. It means continuing to track, continuing to ask the 3 transformative questions, continuing to ensure that your money remains aligned with your values. It also means staying connected to the world. The book closes on a note that feels both intimate and universal. Your financial independence is not an escape from society, it's a new way of engaging with it. You now have the time, clarity, and resources to contribute intentionally, without being trapped by obligation. This is the quiet revolution. Dominguez and Robin envisioned millions of ordinary people freeing themselves from consumer hypnosis, building a simpler, more sustainable world not through sacrifice, but through awareness. The final lesson of the book is deceptively simple. Enough is a revolutionary act. Because when you declare you have enough money, enough things, enough control, you break the cycle that runs the world. You stop feeding the system of endless consumption and start nourishing the system of conscious living. You become a model for what real wealth looks like, not accumulation, but alignment. And maybe that's why financial independence isn't an end at all. It's a return to self, to time, to meaning. The journey began with a simple question. Are you making a living or making a dying? It ends with an answer that feels like peace. I'm making a life. So you sit there, coffee in hand, sunlight spilling through the window, and realize that freedom was never about quitting your job or hitting a number. It was about this moment, this breath, this quiet sense that your life energy now belongs entirely to you. You finally have enough. And enough, it turns out, is everything. So maybe pause here for a moment. Breathe. Think about what enough means for you, not as a theory, but as a way of living. What would your days look like if you no longer traded them for money? What would you build, learn, or give? If this audiobook made something stir inside you, that quiet mix of relief and awakening, leave a trace of it below. Your reflection might be the nudge someone else needs. And if the idea of money serving life, not owning it, feels like truth to you, stay close. This is just one book in a long conversation about freedom, peace, and purpose. Because the goal isn't to make money last forever, it's to make life feel like it finally has.